Hello there, and welcome to the Stay Off My Lawn podcast, where we'll have a little fun, lots of laughs, and discussions on the common sense that needs to be applied to a lot of today's world news issues. And now, the disclaimer. Stay Off My Lawn is not intended as legal, medical, or financial advice. Void where prohibited. No purchase necessary to win. Open to legal U.S. residents 18 or over in the contiguous 48 states. Any resemblance to anyone living or deceased is purely coincidental. Actual price may vary. Only use as directed. Not a member of FDIC. And now, here are your hosts, Mike and Richard. Haven't you heard Walter Brennan? Dadgummit, Luke.
Even if I heard it, I wouldn't admit it. Welcome to this week's episode of Stay Off My Lawn. It's March 18th, 2025, and this is episode 109. 109.
We're getting up there, 109. Pretty soon we'll be eligible for Social Security when we hit 120.
And then we'll be able to collect till we're 160 like everybody else.
Oh, yeah. Now they're coming out and saying, by the way, on that, that's nonsense. That's not real. Okay, so the geniuses who know how to go in and find stuff, you want to say that? They're all fussing up a storm because their slush funds are going bye-bye.
Oh, that's the thing. It's like, that's what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to dig up corruption. And slush funds, to me, reeks of corruption just in the name.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I don't have one of those, do you?
No, I don't even know if I could define it necessarily. So, we're gonna kick it off with our new segment called
It's Time for Stupid Holidays of the Week.
Thank you, Julie, or whatever your name is. Today is National Awkward Moments Day, just like that one. Like waving back at someone who didn't wave at you first. Oh, they were looking at the person behind me.
Well, the farmer wave is you just lift one finger off the steering wheel, and hopefully it's the first finger and not the next one.
If you're from New York or New Jersey, it's that middle finger. Yes, that's exactly what it is. I had one happen to me the other day. I saw somebody that this guy I worked with for 20 years, and I saw him somewhere where I didn't expect to see him, but he looked like he gained a little bit of weight. But I thought, so I went over and said, Sal, what's up, man? How you been? He looked at me and he goes, I'm Tyler or whatever. How are you? And I'm like going, oops, you're not the guy I thought you were.
My bad.
Yeah, I'm not hitting on you, promise. I know it's 2025, but that's not what
I'm still waiting on my glasses to come in.
Yes, I should have said that. If I was smart, I would have said that. Anyway, another awkward moment could be getting tongue-tied on your podcast when you're a professional voiceover artist. Which does happen sometimes.
We're just such good talkers. We're good.
My poor tongue, it doesn't work sometimes.
Well, your eye teeth got in the way. You couldn't see what you were saying. It's not your fault.
That's right. And if you feel like you don't have many of these moments, you can always stop by my house later and pick up some of mine. I've got quite an abundance. Yesterday,
the 7th. We don't have any fun.
I know. We need to work on that. Yesterday was the 17th, and it was St. Patty's Day, but it was also Evacuation Day. And no, that's not talking about colonoscopy prep. We're talking about because that's a different kind of evacuation. It's a day people supposedly get off of work and are off from school in Massachusetts. It's to commemorate the day that the British left Boston for good in 1776. I had never heard of that before, but I like that we celebrate that, or they celebrate that. I'd like to celebrate that myself. As a matter of fact, I'm not going into work today. So Thursday this week is National Kick Butt Day. It's not what you think. Settle down. It's just a day that they advocate for quitting cigarettes. Kick butt
that
day.
Kind of butt.
Yeah, kick butt day. Thursday is National Alien Abduction Day. I guess if you survived an alien abduction, well, good for you, and that's your day.
Take me to your leader.
I mean, it's the tinfoil hat is down the hall on the left. Friday is National Common Courtesy Day, holding the door for someone, saying please, thank you, yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am. It's Southerners get this right, and I think most rural people get this right. But it's pretty noticeable.
Just did it yesterday going into the dentist office.
Of course.
I was humming away, and I noticed some folks were headed to the door, and I wasn't paying attention. Now that I got to the door, and my corner of my eye, they were right close by me. Just wait a second. Popped it open and popped the next door open. And, that's just what you do.
I didn't see anybody behind. We were leaving a restaurant the other day, and I didn't see anybody behind us. And I let the door go, and all of a sudden there was a lady standing there. And I was like, I went back and held it open. I said, I am so sorry. She goes, I know you didn't see me. It's all good. And it's like, but it's just, it's in your blood. I mean, it's just the way.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to slam the door in your face. It's like, whoops, I've done that. I've said it because I didn't notice they were there until I let go, and your head turns and you go, uh-oh. That's not a ghost. That's a human standing there.
Exactly. Well, one of my favorite things, though, is like if you go to like a bigger city or just with a waitress or a waiter that is not used to it, that's from a big city or whatever. And it's like you call them ma'am or sir, even though they're obviously younger than you. They don't appreciate the ma'am and sir. You're a lot older than me. What are you doing? It's like, that's just, I say that to almost everybody.
I get right after him. I'm sorry. It's not an insult. I don't care if you're 18, 17, if you're a server or whatever, young, old, doesn't make any difference. It's thank you, ma'am. I appreciate that. Well, I'm not, you know what?
It's just
That's how I was raised, to be courteous and kind.
Yeah.
It is not a dig at anything. You can get all bent out of it if you want, but it's not intended for that and will not be intended.
It's just a
so
respect
I just get back at them right quick. It's like, I don't need to hear that crap. If you're going to be offended over every little thing said to you, get a different job.
You need to do something else. Absolutely. And finally, Saturday is International Goof Off Day. Do as much or as little as you like officially, as long as it's what you want to do. Every day is kind of like that for us because we're retired. So that's just the way that goes. So that's how your week will be if you celebrate all that stuff, as opposed to last week we had to celebrate the assassination of Julius Caesar, which is still something I think is just fantastic that people just still do.
Celebrate the Ides of March. What's that all about? Well, it's kind of when Tu Brute. You ever heard of that? Yeah. Yes.
Anyway. So getting to our news stories, CNN.
Oh, yes.
As we were talking.
We do have stuff to do.
In the promo, we talked about this. CNN just came out with a poll, and NBC supposedly did too, saying the Democratic Party's favorability rating has hit an all-time low. CNN said it was 29%, but you said CBS?
And CNN actually later had an NBC poll.
Oh,
it doesn't get any more liberal than an NBC poll. Kind of like last week, we had a CBS poll that went, we took this poll and it's not good.
It's not good.
Anyway, it was 27%.
Wow.
And the guy on CNN said he was a chubby, going back years, he said, I like Chubby Checker, so I'm going to stick with his quote of, how low can you go?
That's right.
That was hilarious. But yeah, they just keep. What else happened? I told the wife yesterday, I said, do they have any feet left to shoot holes in? It's like, good God almighty. You just keep stepping on things and whatever.
We were out with some friends the other day and we were talking about this. It's like, they've got so many hills that they decide that they want to die on and they're all just ridiculous. I mean, most of the country's like, and of course you've got some of these people that buy into all this stuff and whatever, but it's like, and we'll talk more about this later as a matter of fact, but Chris Matthews was on MSNBC Morning Joe last week, and he was asked about this favorability rating stuff. And here's what I don't agree with him at all. I don't agree with him on this either, but this is what he had to say.
Chris Matthews, what do you make of these numbers for the Democrats?
Well, you could have seen them the night that Trump addressed the Congress. You watched the Democratic Party. They seemed like they weren't there. They were sort of vacant. They weren't saying anything with their manner. They never questioned the facts. They let the president lie about Social Security and say that we're giving benefits to people who are 160 years old or to their grandchildren. We allowed Elon Musk to go on television and tell everybody that we're using Social Security as a lure to bring people into the country illegally, that we're giving them benefits, which we're not. We're giving them to illegal people in the country who come in illegally. We give it to them, lie after lie after lie, and said nothing. I'll tell you, James Carville, who said the Democrats should stay silent, may be partially right, but where he's wrong is you have to have a fact checker. There needs to be a war room. Remember in 1992? Yeah. Remember how Bill Clinton won that election because he had a war room. He and George Stephanopoulos were down there in Little Rock, and they were checking every fact, and nobody checks the facts anymore. And the lies are getting through to the American people.
So the reason the favorability rating is so low is because Republicans are lying. That's all it is. I mean, it's very
like him saying that they didn't give money to migrants coming. That's why part of why they were coming. It's like, hey, they're going to feed you, take care of you. We don't like American food. We want our nationality food. Well, la-ti-da. Yeah. Be glad you're had more money than we do. And where do you think some of that was coming from? From Social Security. It's showing up in the books, you butts.
And the states, especially California, they have the Calicare or
something like
California or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, they a lot of that budget ended up going to illegal immigrants. It's like, so how in the world can you say that doesn't exist? This guy is just so freaking
and that
delusional.
They're lying. It's like, no, that's your party, your side that you just keep saying, oh, well, that's not happening. Don't look over here. Nothing about, don't look behind the curtain.
Yeah. There's nothing to see here. But, they distance themselves from the average people, at least with functioning brains, even if you're got a D next to your name, with the men playing in women's sports, the pronoun crap, the DEI, ESG, the funding of the war in Ukraine that seems to never end. And of course, censorship, which they were completely against 20 years ago. Now all of a sudden they think it's great. But anyway, polling has suggested that swing voters, let's face it, they're the ones who actually determine elections, the swing voters, because those of us who are firmly Republican or firmly Democrat, they're not going to move anyway, no matter what. I would be surprised if the Republicans came out and did something that made me swing over and vote Democrat. I've only voted for one Democrat in my life. So, I mean, that was back in the 90s. So there you go. But anyway, they've kind of alienated themselves from people with active brain cells. So I don't know.
Yeah, the party just kept marching to the left, and now they're up against the wall, and they just keep kind of like in the movie Belushi was in Animal House.
Oh, yeah.
Where all the people were just, and they're all just, the band just keeps marching, banging against the wall. That's kind of what they're doing, and they're still trying to march. It's like, it's not working, people.
Not working. Yeah.
I've used to, back in the day, younger days, would vote a Democrat here, a Republican over there. This one's a better person than that one.
It was
blah,
a
blah.
different time.
I don't do that anymore. I mean, we had a really good senator from Idaho, Frank Church. We had a really good governor, Phil Batt, at the time was a Democrat, and you would have Democrats and Republicans, and now people are going, not no more.
Back then, there wasn't that much difference. I mean, there was some policy differences, and the Democrats, and I've talked to voice coaches, as a matter of fact, back when I first started doing voiceover, and we voted completely differently, but we both agreed on the same problems that we had in America. His solutions normally was, well, we need a program, or we need to send more money to this and do more money for this. And my whole thing was, I think we need to extract money from it because whatever we're doing so far is not working. So let's not pile onto that. We need to figure out a different way. And we just agreed to disagree on the solution, but the problems we totally agreed with. Today, that's just not the case.
No, it's so night and day, and like you're saying, throw more money at it. No, we're tired of giving money because it's done nothing. Just like the education department that Carter put in, we have gone backwards. Government doesn't run anything well. No. I'm sorry, they just flat don't.
Every year since that's been implemented, we've gone down as far as education compared to the rest of the world.
And the lowest it's been is where it's at right now.
Absolutely.
We dropped from number one or in the top 5, whatever in the world, to now we're down in the 20s.
Oh yeah, we're closer to the bottom than we are the top, for sure.
Yeah, it's not good.
But I mean, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. So, of course, when censorship doesn't work, they like to, they don't like your opinion. They throw out, you're a racist, you're a homophobe, a transphobe, xenophobe, what other kind of phobe they come up with. So, I mean, I'm sick of the whole thing.
Hangnailophobe. I don't know.
Well, I don't like those either. they get caught on my hose.
I'm not even going to say anything.
It's TMI.
Listen, what you do on the weekends, this is your business. But
that's right. It's only Tuesday. I've still got them in the wash anyway. Oh, my gosh. Yeah, we are up against our first break already. Holy cow. When we come back, we're going to talk about Lisa McLain. She's actually one of those rising star representatives in Congress that we just love to hear talk anymore. She's filled with common sense, and she did a heck of a job talking to the CNN reporter. So hang in there. We'll be right back with that.
More of the Stay Off My Lawn podcast is coming up.
Bud Light presents Real Men of Genius.
Real men of genius.
Today we salute you, Mr. Parade Float Driver.
Mr. Parade Float Driver.
Real men don't drive shiny sports cars. Real men drive old school bus chassis covered in papier-mâché, pansies, and puppets.
Slow and easy.
Why? Chicks dig floats. Just ask the Carson County Pork Queen waving from the back end.
Lovely pork queen.
You drive with sweaty palms. One wrong move from you, and Paul Tilley's old-timey barbershop quartet is history.
Oh!
So crack open an ice-cold Bud Light, oh thoroughbred of the thoroughfare. When it comes to parades, you really float our boats.
Mr. Parade Float Driver.
Bud Light Beer, Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis, Missouri.
Okay, then. Welcome back to Stay Off My Lawn, segment 2, and we're going to jump right back in here. Lisa McLain, she is a congresswoman from, I think it's Michigan. Is that right?
I think you're right. It's somewhere in the upper Midwest, and I believe that's what it is.
Yeah.
I don't think it's Wisconsin.
It's one of those accent places up there. Anyway, she's a superstar, though, man. She's become one of those people that is very outspoken and doesn't mind if she steps on toes, which to me, that's kind of what Richard and I, that's how our DNA is made up. We don't care about stuff. Anyway, she was on CNN the other day, and the host was thinking that he was being kind of clever and trying to paint her into a corner about the effects of all these tariffs and everything.
He brought the wrong paintbrush.
He sure did. He tried to mansplain her, and she turned the tables on him. It was really good. So here's how that went.
All you need to do is turn on the TV. Look at your show. It's nothing but fear mongering. That's all the Democrats do. What's inflation doing? What's inflation? Up or down? Oh, it's down. What's the prices of eggs? Oh, they're down. What's the prices of mortgage? Oh, it's down, right? But we don't cover the positive things. We only cover the negative things to get everyone worked up. So here's two things. This could be a potential problem, but it actually could be a potential long-term solution. But when you don't want to cover the other half and all you talk about is the one half, of course, that's what you're going to hear. I would prefer to give both sides of the story. That's what real news people used to do, is they would give both sides of the story. So one side of the story is, yes, potentially on the short term, listen, tariffs could cause us some discomfort, no question. But let's take a look at the long term. Do you think there's any benefits to the long term? I can share with you that there are benefits to the long term if we can get this on a level playing field. And that's what we need to do. Instead of just getting everyone all ginned up about, the sky is falling, let's talk about the vision on what we're actually trying to do, which is reverse the negative force and put America on track to be respected again.
If you could have seen his feet, he was on his heels.
Well, and he was trying to say, well, that's what we do here.
No, come on now. No.
I laughed so hard I didn't hear what the rest of it. I had to back it up and listen to it again. It's like, who are you kidding? Why do you think that most podcasts have more viewers than you guys?
Exactly.
In a full week, they don't have 500,000 views.
Ain't that something?
They're just drowning in red ink right now.
And we're moving in that direction ourselves.
Fast enough. Yeah.
But yet I think that's one of the things that she was absolutely right about. It used to be the Walter Cronkites and even the Dan Rathers and the Roger Mudds. I mean, those guys tried to kind of give both sides, and they weren't there to give their opinions. They were there to give the news. And I think CNN has lost total sight of that.
Right. Well, that's the way it is. It's Monday, September. Anyhow, that's who I grew up with.
Yeah,
newscaster. Too. But yeah, to be a CNN reporter and say, "Oh no, we cover both sides." You don't even know what the other side is.
Oh, you mean talking out both sides of your mouth? That's not what we mean. Yeah.
And if you're going to talk out of another place, at least stand up so we can understand you, please.
Yeah, I know it does stink, but at least you're honest. But she's really good, and I think he underestimated her again. So
yeah, and she was not nasty about it. She was matter-of-factly. This is where this is, and this is. What are you going to do? Refute that? Because I'm sorry, there's been a lot of changes in a very short period of time.
Yeah. And we were talking about Mike Rowe. I was talking to somebody yesterday about Mike Rowe. And did you see the interview? Somebody asked him about the tariffs. What do you think, because you're big on American prosperity and the whole thing. He goes, what do you think about these tariffs? He says, he looked at her, and I think the way he responded was, you mean long-term or short-term? And they said, well, both. He said, well, short term, yeah, it's going to hurt. There's going to be a lot of things that are going to hurt. But he says, long term, we're looking at the long game, and that's what the current administration's doing. So,
and too many people nowadays, because of internet and everything, it's got to be now, got to be immediate. This is what we got. It's not the way it works. I mean, I couldn't believe the number of people. Oh, he's been in office now for 5 weeks. How come eggs haven't come down? Good Lord Almighty. Well, when you kill 140 million chickens, you're going to make the cost of eggs go up because there ain't enough of them there. It's called supply and demand. Have you heard of that?
Well, again, that was government overreach to do all that anyway.
Oh, heavens, yes. And they did it on purpose and did a bunch of them just before old Uncle Joe, he was lame duck and was sending that gal out, and their tests were proven to be false. And they just said, oh, look, this one here. So you got to get rid of them all.
Yeah. Well, how many did they call? It was in the millions, obviously.
Yeah, it's 100 million chickens were done in.
Just insane.
Just because of make-believe or there was a problem and it didn't matter where they went, they were finding one or two.
Well, and speaking of I was thinking about Mike Rowe. He's not necessarily a political guy, but he just kind of tries, like we do, tries to come at things from a common sense perspective. And a lot of times common sense is favorable to the party that you and I are a part of. But it's like, because he agrees with Trump on something, man, they'll just they'll rip him to shreds. And it's like everybody likes Mike Rowe, Democrat or Republican. I just because he's honest. He's like Joe Rogan. He's honest. He asks honest questions. So anyway, get mad at Mike Rowe all you want because he's not necessarily a Trump supporter. He just likes common sense things. I'm kind of the same way. Anyway, the Democrats and the media are jumping all up and down, screaming about probes into the Medicare, Social Security, Medicaid. I kind of like seeing it. I like seeing them upset.
I'm sorry. I'm just thinking, this clip is so funny. It's just like you can't turn your head around fast enough to okie dokies.
They seem to forget that we still have the internet, for goodness sake. But here's Nancy Pelosi, Bernie Sanders, and Chuck Schumer just a few years ago when Obama was still president.
We cannot keep our promises on Medicare. We simply must make the cuts in waste, fraud, and abuse in Medicare so that the benefits and the premiums are untouched. We owe it to our seniors. We owe it to our country.
There is an enormous amount of waste and fraud and abuse in this government. When there is waste and fraud, you have an administration who should also be on top of that situation.
If we're going to eliminate the waste, fraud, and abuse in Medicare, it does mean we're going to cut some of that out. And when I hear my friend Dave Camp say you cannot cut money out of Medicare, You can't just get up there and say, we don't want to cut anything out of Medicare. We want to cut the bad stuff and keep the good stuff.
What has Trump been saying?
Sounds just like them. When did they become Republican? Oh, that's right. They've never been. It's because they don't. Yeah.
And speaking of, I can't hear Bernie Sanders talk without thinking it's got to be like a Bugs Bunny character or something, because it just sounds like
that old socialist. Are you giving me a break? Yeah, if you go to cut out the stuff, and I got to pay for my third $2 million home that I've got.
Sounds like the guy from Taxi now. Can't think of
Anyway, it's like, really, you three are. You said that, and now it's like, oh no, you can't be. There's not, and they're on that kick of no, there's not that many people that are. Why are they on the records, and why is it showing paid and cash?
Mm-hmm.
Because somebody's using that money. I don't know where it is, but somebody's using it.
Seems like it's pretty easy to find out whether somebody's 160 years old and still alive. I mean, I probably could spend 15 seconds on the internet and find that out myself. Two people search will tell you if they're deceased or not. So,
but it's not a matter that they're on the rolls. There are checks being sent out, checks, whatever, direct deposits, whatever they might be. They're going someplace, and somebody's using the money.
Absolutely.
So don't tell me, they don't exist. That's some more slush fund.
Mm-hmm. You got great grandchildren out there driving Teslas or something because they've got extra little bit of money every month.
They have to have their ices.
Yeah, that's it. It's cocaine, but yeah, it's the same thing. We played that clip last week where Trump said all they were going to do is get rid of the fraud, and he was talking to the media. He says, "You're not against that, are you?" Of course, they were all sitting on their hands at that point. So if you're collecting or benefit, and there's lots of fear mongering, like you were saying, that's kind of how they flip to. But if you're collecting or benefiting from any of those three programs legally, you've got absolutely nothing to worry about. So I just would leave it there. We are getting Social Security in this house. I know you are in your house.
Yep.
Are we worried? Is there any worry? And no, because we're playing by the rules. If you're playing by the rules, you got nothing to worry about.
Yeah, it's what it is. And can I do something about it if something did happen? Nope. I have to figure out how to just make ends meet. I'll tell you, to be just straight on Social Security, I would hate to be there. Because it would be tight.
There's not a lot of money in that system, or not a lot of money when you retire after 30 years or 35, 40 years, whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's a lady out there named Batya Ungar Sargon, which I was not familiar with her name, but I've seen clips of her many times in the past. She is a well-respected author and journalist, and was on Bill Mahar the other day talking about the economy, and drove home how everything has changed in the world and how tariffs can be one of the fixes for this economy.
The reason people want to go back to the 70s is in the 70s, the largest share of our GDP was in the middle class. And that was not separate from the fact that 25% of our economy was in manufacturing. Our economy was an upward funnel of wealth, and the largest share, which used to be in manufacturing, which gave a lot of working class people a middle class standard of living, now the largest share is in real estate and finance. That manufacturing is still being done. It's just being done in other countries. It is still
for wages we will not work for.
That's exactly right. You're right, Bill. That's what the tariffs are for. They are to make American workers more competitive in the global market. Why are we accepting that there should be a race to the bottom? You know, China, what is its competitive advantage over us? It's that it pays slave wages. Why should we accept that? They're still manufacturing our PPE, our pharmaceuticals, our cars. They're making all that stuff. Trump says there are 5 industries that we cannot have any kind of national security without having a stake in them. Pharmaceuticals, lumber, steel, aluminum, and I forget what the 5th one was. But these are really important, that we have a stake in the manufacturing of the things that we need as a nation, so that when China decides that it wants to go to war against us, we're not relying on them for steel and aluminum in order to fight them.
Okay, well, at least that's an answer.
And I don't think she's necessarily a Republican in any way. I don't believe.
Not my understanding, but it was, okay, well, that's an answer. He just kind of accepted it. It's like sometimes some of this common sense, the more it's coming out, he's starting to sound more and more like a Republican. I'm still a Democrat, just not the current Democrat.
I think he's got bad TDS anyway, but but if he could get rid of that and actually, because he does see things, he tries to see things with common sense. He sees that the Democratic Party has kind of left the camp of common sense totally anyway. But
left the campground, left the mountainous regions. Yeah, no, it's totally gone.
But she's so right. China is utilizing the Uyghur population to manufacture T-shirts and tennis shoes and all these things that, for what, a quarter pound of rice a day for the family? I mean, it's like they feed these people, and that's really it. They kind of living in terrible conditions.
Well, they're in compounds and stuff where they don't get a choice to go somewhere else. Sorry.
No. And then,
it's not like you were recruited to come here and work. No.
And the tariffs, I think during Trump's first presidency, you saw some of this happening. People were bringing manufacturing back to the U.S. because he did kind of inspire that to a little bit of patriotism as far as that kind of thing goes. And I think we've already seen some manufacturers said they're going to build a plant in, I'm trying to remember who it was now. Taiwan said they were going
to build one, aren't they? And Taiwan's coming with their chips.
With their chip thing, yep.
I want to say it's Texas, but I'm not going to swear to it.
I forgot where that was. That would be a good choice because Texas has very low taxes, and that would be at least.
Well, and they already have a lot of chip and stuff there. So.
That's true. Dell and
but it's like $50 billion they're investing or more, something like that. $100 billion?
$200 billion? I think
it might have been.
I think Apple's doing $70 billion. So I mean, it's a lot of money being shoveled into our economy, and these are going to be employing American people. And we might see prices go up a little bit, but with tariffs and everything, I think it's just going to make the playing field even and make it more attractive for companies to make things here.
Well, I don't think the prices are going to go up any worse than we've seen over the last 4 years with inflation. And it's actually money that will be going in people's pockets, and then it will level itself out. That's the way that it's always worked in the past. Yep. And to have Canada whining about stuff, going, okay, you guys are withdrawn. Okay. I don't have anything in my house made in Canada that I could find. I looked the other day just because it's like, I don't have the maple syrup or any of that. If I do, I usually get it from like it's back east, New Hampshire, Vermont, that kind of Maine.
But
that area.
Remember we had NAFTA and we had NAFTA 2.0 where they had a different thing. But wasn't that supposed to be free trade among all of North American countries, all three of us?
Yeah, it was free for them.
Yeah, I was going to say they're still charging 284% on eggs and milk and a lot of things. It's like, how in the world do you charge tariffs if we have a NAFTA type thing in place? That's kind of blown me away on the way all that's working. We're up against the break. When we come back, we're going to hear from UK Reform Party leader Nigel Farage, and he sounds very familiar with the way he's talking. So
I love Nigel. He's just absolutely wonderful. He's had his teeth done too, oh boy.
He does. His teeth look very American. So hang in there. We'll be right back.
The Stay Off My Lawn podcast is recorded before a live studio audience.
They say you get wiser with age. So, this year, I'm giving myself the gift of a hassle-free credit card. Capital One allows me to monitor my bank, has 0% fraud liability, and dependable 24-hour customer service. It's the wisest gift that keeps on giving.
Welcome back to Stay Off My Lawn, segment 3, and so we're halfway done. Nigel Farage, the leader of the Reform UK Party, and hopefully, their next prime minister, if they get their stuff together over there, was given a speech the other day and talking about the template that Trump has set for the world, at least the Western world, and there's how that sounded like. See if it sounds familiar to you.
Watching Trump and the Americans, it has made me even more determined than ever to restore our unique country through a great repeal act when Labour falls at the next election. I don't particularly care if we're liked by the rest of the world. I care if we're respected, because right now, Britain is a joke, and it has been for some time. I want the British government to put the British people at the top of the agenda. Yeah! We should make no apologies for that. Learn from Trump. Let's be unapologetically patriotic. Slash tax across the board. Enforce the border. Deport those with no right to be here. Accept biological reality. Fight back against wokery. Bulldoze nonsensical foreign aid. Eradicate DEI. Deliver sensible infrastructure. Carpet bomb public sector waste. Brutally crack down on crime. And plenty more. Let's make Great Britain great again. Thank you.
He's talking about getting rid of all those things. Somebody was wearing out the thesaurus. He was going carpet bomb and eradicate. And it's like, I love it. They all mean the same thing. It's great.
And you don't get more of a British name than Nigel Farage, right? I'm here, old boy. I'll help you out. We'll make our country wonderful again.
I tell you what, he's a smart dude, though. I love it.
Oh, yeah.
Our friend Mike Mendoza thinks the world of him and knows him very well. So
yeah, I mean it's all just more common sense stuff. You cannot keep giving away money. They're already running out of other people's money.
Yeah,
they're doing the same thing with the folks that got into their country illegally and they've been supporting them, and they don't have any more. Who's working to provide the funds to give to people that don't have them anymore?
Well, that's the thing. It's like, I think that speech went on. I heard different parts of it, and you may have sent it to me. He was talking about the amount of money that's been spent, how many on the immigrants, the illegal immigrants. He said up to 40 or 50,000 people a year since the turn of the century until like 2019, 2020, then all of a sudden they started getting this influx where now instead of a couple hundred thousand every few years, now they've taken in like 20 million people. It's some ridiculous amount. No wonder you can't buy a house. They're building a house in Great Britain. Like I think he said 1 every 2 seconds. So it's like they just can't keep up. And that country's not very big. They're going to run out of room pretty soon. And of course, London, the demographics of London have changed dramatically. It's over 50% Muslim nation people that are living over there. Culture means something. You can't just cash in your culture because it feels good. I think it's terrible.
That's not the way the country has been for eons, and now all of a sudden, it's same thing with ours. Is like, no, you're welcome to come into a country if you want to assimilate or keep part of your, like, if it wasn't people assimilating in the U.S., we wouldn't be able to go to a Chinese restaurant. We wouldn't be able to go to a Mexican restaurant. You wouldn't be able to go to an Italian. It's like, yeah, that's your heritage. That's great.
Sure.
But a lot of those folks came over here, worked hard, and made something of themselves by either opening a restaurant or whatever service they might have come up with. And they're proud to be Americans. Absolutely. Because you can't get this done like this anywhere else.
But that's where this sharing of cultures comes together as Americans. Because I know people from Venezuela, Cuba, Great Britain, France. It's like, but they are collectively Americans, and that's how their thought process is. That's the kind of people we want here. And you and I have talked. I was thinking about this as you were talking. It's like we've talked about that. You being in Idaho, you're getting a lot of influx of people from California, and here in Georgia, we've gotten a lot of influx from people from New Jersey, New York, Ohio, Michigan, or whatever. And it's like all those places, especially California, have such terrible liberal voting records and a terrible record of having a bad economies and just lefty policies that just don't work for the average person. Don't come here and not assimilate to the way we do things here. Don't try to bring your failed politics to our state. It's the same kind of thing. It's just on a smaller scale.
Yeah. Well, my favorite overheard conversation was, we moved in here and we're just wondering, where's our free stuff? It's like, no, there isn't any free stuff. And how they were so disappointed. I thought houses were supposed to be cheaper up here. We actually had to finance our second rental home.
Oh,
you poor thing.
My heart, she bleeds.
Many Christmas. And we've talked about it before that conservatives here are not California conservatives, are not.
They'd be considered liberal here in Georgia. Yeah.
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 So, it's the same thing going from state to state. And which one person was an English gentleman who came over to the States and was traveling all across the states. He goes, you want to say, oh, well, the Americans aren't very well traveled. Because he said they don't have to be. The country is massive. He would say. Right. And he said it's just fun. You go to a different state, it's like going to another country.
Absolutely.
Because you have sometimes there's different laws, different things that that are there, and the cultures and what they have and what they don't have.
Right.
So
I thought about that when we went to Vegas the last time. I asked for a sweet tea. They didn't know what that was. It's like,
we have a little bit of that on the shelves, but you pretty much make that at home.
There's sugar on the table. I'm like going, what do you mean sugar on the table? You can't put sugar in a cold drink. What are you, stupid? And it's like, it's just a different culture. So, I mean, it's different. Anyway, I don't know if you saw this. I'm sure you saw this video. I think everybody in the country saw this video.
Oh, Lord, yes. Yeah. I watched it like 3 times. I'm going, the little jab back was, it was kind of like a flip and that. And the one who didn't get misgendered was the one who had their panties in a knickered knot worse than the one who got quote unquote misgendered.
Yeah. And all 3 of these people I had not heard from or heard about before this week. Of course, everybody's trying to make a name for themselves, but there was a dust-up in a committee hearing in Congress last week, and Congressman Tim McBride from Delaware, somewhere along the timeline of his 35 years, same age as my son, is really... anyway, decided to grow out his hair and call himself Sarah. Anyway, Delaware, as they decided to elect her in Congress, which, most of the Democratic Party plays along with that kind of thing. But in this committee hearing, Congressman Keith Self from Texas, good old boy from Texas, was not going to feed into this mental illness. Here's how that went.
I now recognize the representative from Delaware, Mr. McBride.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ranking Member Keating, also wonderful.
Mr. Chairman, could you repeat your introduction again, please?
Yes, we have set the standard on the floor of the House, and I'm simply...
What is that standard, Mr. Chairman? Would you repeat what you just said when you introduced a duly elected representative from the United States of America? Please.
I will. The representative from Delaware, Mr. McBride.
Mr. Chairman, you are out of order. Mr. Chairman, have you no decency? I've come to know you a little bit, but this is not decent.
We will continue this.
You will not continue it with me unless you introduce a duly elected representative the right way.
This hearing is adjourned.
Just because this congressman has a penis doesn't mean it's a he. Jeez.
This meeting, okay, you don't want to be here for the meeting?
Fine.
Okay, it's adjourned. We're done.
We heard that McBride character come back with that. Thank you, Madam Chair. Richard and I heard. None of the pundits I listened to ever made any mention of that, but I caught that very quickly. Pretty quick on his feet for a guy that's got some kind of mental illness. I think that was pretty good.
And the one that it was addressed to, I'm sure they heard it as well.
Yeah.
And they didn't seem to, it just, okay, you wanted that. Okay, moving on until somebody who had no matter one way or the other to went, and what did you say? Oh, please take a chill pill.
I zinged you, you zinged me back. It's all good. I mean, because he's a man.
It's like, moving on.
But when you heard Congressman Bill Keating from Massachusetts, he's the guy that jumped in and defended his girl or whatever. It was like, those kind of people just drive me insane. It's like, this is the hill I'm dying on. And we say that phrase probably too often, but it's like, I just can't believe 80% of the country does not buy into this stuff. And you're going to make a spectacle of yourself in front of the world about this?
And it was before we were talking off air a little bit about, that's fine. That's what you want to do. You do you, boo. As long as it doesn't affect me, I don't really care.
That's right.
It really makes no difference. But when you started trying to recruit kids and you started doing stuff with children and you started telling people you have to believe the way, finally pushed a little too far. No, enough's enough.
I've been called mean-spirited because I don't buy into this stuff. And it's like, I'm not being mean at all. I'm just being real. I mean, if you decide to dress like a woman, you do you, like you said. I don't care what you do, but you can't force me. It's not free speech. It's not First Amendment covered to make me buy into your delusion. And I'm sorry, it's a delusion. It's just what it is. Congressman defended himself on social media, saying it's the policy of the U.S. To recognize only two sexes, male and female. So
that's what was done right off the get-go.
And Representative Self, the guy who called him a he, had to cancel a town hall meeting because of violent threats against him. So this is the party of joy, love, tolerance, and all that stuff. So that's only if you don't see things the same way they do. So can't have that now. Tim Poole, who is a great podcaster called the Timcast, I think it's called. He mentioned on his podcast the other day a new trend on social media. It's very disturbing. So here he is.
I think that with the wave of videos we've seen on social media, TikTok, X, wherever, not so much X, where these people are just screaming, "Do it," over and over again, and it is implied everybody following them knows what it means. Look, it's one thing when one guy goes online and says, "I'm going to," or "someone should do" thing, right? The police go and arrest them, or the person gets banned. What we have now is a zeitgeist. It is a trend. It is the modern leftist culture. It is the liberal establishment. I'm not talking about politicians. I'm saying in the core of liberal social orthodoxy right now, the viral trend is calling for terrorist action and assassinations. Now we're seeing these swattings. I believe these swattings are an outpouring of you've got tens of millions or hundreds of millions of views already on people posting videos screaming, "Do it," and things like that.
And "do it" is calling for the assassination of somebody. So,
now, and do you know what swattings are?
I do. You want to explain it though?
Yeah, it's Joe Pags explained it really well the other day because it happened to him. He will have some of these wacko leftoids will call the police stations and say, "Oh, there's been a really uprising at this house. There's 2 dogs are shot, and I don't know how many people are in the house." And so they send full-on SWAT teams and stuff out to a house. And if you were to step out the front door with a gun in your hand, you might not step out of any other door again. So, it's go out, hands in the air. Hey, there's nothing going on here. You know who I am. Called ahead of time. And then stepped out of the house, and they're trying to get people shot via the police.
Absolutely. And again, that's the party of love and tolerance.
Oh, yeah. Then that's what's called swatting, folks. If you weren't familiar with SWAT, like a fly.
Like the SWAT team.
Like the SWAT team, yes.
It's happened, Marjorie Taylor Greene lives about 25 miles from me. And of course, she's not very popular with the liberals. But she's been swatted at least twice. I think it's been 3 times.
Really?
And she had video from her camera in the foyer the last time it happened, and I saw it happen. It was like 3 a.m, and the SWAT team showed up outside of her house, and it's like, and they kind of knew by this 3rd time that this is probably not the case because she lives by herself. She's divorced or whatever. There was nothing going on, and the cops kind of understood what was going on. But it's like they have to take every call seriously, and that's what they play on.
Yeah. And they're saying also because we're not giving money to Ukraine that it might be them that's doing it. It's hard to say. You've got all these different factions that want to keep having their way, and that's not how it's going, people. Yep. See ya. Yep. All these gangs that are being deported and shaved, getting their heads shaved and their beards cut off. Yeah. And might be them as well. Who knows what it is?
They've all been invited by the previous administrations. So, I mean, it is what it is. We're up against a break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about Marco Rubio's run-in with Margaret Brennon, which was really, really good. And we've got an unbelievable rest of the story with Paul Harvey to round out the show. So hang in there. We'll be right back.
I'm Charmaine Davies. And every week, my guilty pleasure is tuning in to the podcast, Stay Off My Lawn. It's funny, it's informative, and the guys that present it are just fabulous. So make sure you tune in every week to Stay Off My Lawn and make it your guilty pleasure too.
Hi, I'm Smokey Bear, and I made an assistant to help you out because only you can prevent wildfires.
Hey, Assistant Smokey Bear. Call me Papa Bear because I'm grilling up dinner. Do you get it?
Yes, good job.
So, what should I do with all these coals?
Don't just toss them out. Put them in a metal container because those embers can start a wildfire.
I understand. The stakes are high.
Ha, 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 ha.
Learn more at SmokeyBear.com.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Here we go. Welcome back to Stay Off My Lawn, segment 4.
I may get to eat today after all.
Well, we'll hold off a little while. We don't need all the chewing and stuff. So,
Is that noisy?
Can you hear this? We spoke last week about non-citizens, green card people, work visa or not, are not entitled to constitutional rights. The lefties don't seem to get that understanding. But Margaret Brennon, you know, the one famous for, I really don't care, Margaret. J.D. Vance, God love him. She asked Marco Rubio about the deportation of a guy named Mahmoud Khalil. He's the guy who led the anti-Israel protest at Columbia University. And
but wait, yes, and all the lefties keep saying he's a student at Columbia. He's 31 flipping years old. Don't call him a student. He's a
again,
anyway.
Just because you're on a student visa doesn't mean you get to protest, and you're not covered under those constitutional rights. You're just not. And Marco really drives this point home. She tried to have gotchas, and it didn't work out so well. Poor Margaret. Gosh.
He was not having it.
Here we go.
You should watch the news. These guys take over entire buildings.
We
they
covered
vandalize
it
colleges.
intensely.
They shut down colleges.
I'm asking about the specific justification for the revocation of his visa. Was there any evidence of material support for terrorism?
Was the negotiator negotiating on behalf of people that took over a campus, that vandalized buildings? Negotiating over what? That's a crime in and of itself, that they're involved in being the negotiator, the spokesperson, this, that, the other. We don't want it. We don't need these people in our country. We never should have allowed them in the first place. If he had told us, I'm going over there and I'm going over there to become the spokesperson and one of the leaders of a movement that's going to turn one of your allegedly elite colleges upside down, people can't even go to school, library buildings being vandalized, we never would have let him in. We never would have let him in to begin with. And now that he's doing it and he's here, he's going to leave, and so are others, and we're going to keep doing it. And by the way, I find it ironic that a lot of these people out there defending the First Amendment speech, alleged free speech rights of these Hamas sympathizers, they had no problem, pressuring social media to censor American political speech. So I think it's ironic and hypocritical. But the bottom line is this. If you are in this country to promote Hamas, to promote terrorist organizations, to participate in vandalism, to participate in acts of rebellion and riots on campus, we never would have let you in.
Her heart was a flutter. You could just tell.
And that's all. She couldn't get anything else out. It was like, he was not even hardly taking a breath. He was just, give me a break. Do you not know the laws, people? And they've been told that if you do this, two things happen. The university allows it. They no longer get federal funding. Right. And those that are doing it are going to get arrested, and their green cards are going to be revoked if they have them, and will be deported. They've been told. All of a sudden, you did it, and now it's like somebody got arrested. They're going, they were serious, not like the lefties who say stuff and go, well, maybe next time or sometime anyway.
Yeah. As far as I understand, if you're on any kind of visa, you got to just breathe the wrong way, get a fart crosswise, whatever. It's like they could just take you in and send you back to wherever you came from for any reason. They don't have to have a legal reason. You don't have to necessarily break the law. You can just act up, and you're done.
So like, how long does a student visa go on? You take one class at the university. I don't know how many classes he was taking, but
like you
31. They try to say, "Oh, this is just a young student." No, it's not.
What country is he from anyway? I don't even remember.
Don't remember.
Yeah.
I apologize. I did hear what it was, but I
I did
cannot
too, and
remember.
I can't remember. But it's you're 31. How in the world do you afford if you're from the Middle East? It sounds like he's from the Middle East. I mean, how can you afford a Columbia University education? I mean, it's
things that make you go.
Just like
how do you?
Just like the only people that in Saudi Arabia or in UAE or any of those countries, the only people that have money are the oligarchs, the people who run the oil industry or in the monarchy or whatever. It's like they're not. It's not the average everyday person. You're either rich or you're impoverished over there. Anyway, again, it's okay for a guy like this to call for participation in anti-Semitic rallies, protests, and all that kind of stuff. But you think back a couple of years ago, it's not okay for actual citizens to question a vaccine.
Yeah.
I mean,
Lord forbid you were to do that.
Yeah.
There's been so many people harmed by all that. There's just so much stuff happening right now. The news media is just exhausted trying to keep up with Trump. And I think he's just continually, just every week you'd think, well, he's going to slow down. No, he hasn't. It's just pound, pound, pound. He talks to the news media, even up in the plane at 35,000 feet. He lets people into the Oval Office and discusses things with them. And they're going, oh, well, he's hiding. Hiding what? We never saw the other president. He was too busy eating ice cream on the beach somewhere, taking all of his vacations. So give me a break on that. Good Lord, there's never been a president that has spent this much time with the media, with the exception of someone who did it more often than a lot of presidents would have been Reagan.
No, that's true. That's true. And he was older too. At the time, he was the oldest president on record.
Yeah, he was very sharp on his feet when somebody would ask stuff, could answer questions and talk to him. Biden couldn't even read a teleprompter. No. So
and now we find out with the auto pen, he wasn't even signing the pardons.
Yeah.
Which
didn't know he was signing some of the stuff that was in there.
Well, that's right. We talked about Mike Johnson asked him about the thing where he stopped the natural gas exports from southern Louisiana. Yeah. He didn't even know he did it.
I didn't do that. Yes, you did, sir. I have the record right here.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't do that. Well, somebody did. Let's just
somebody
put it
by
that
the name
way.
of Jay Biden did that. But
yeah. You know that the auto pen, here's some trivia for you. The auto pen was essentially invented by Jefferson when he was signing documents. He would sign 5 at a time where they had to go somewhere, but his hand was moving on the first one and he had 4 other pens that were lined up. Yeah, I went, really? That's wow. Come up with something like that in the 1700s? That just blew me away. Yeah. That's where it came from.
Interesting. It's like
the auto pen.
Before the invention of the that paper that blue paper used to put between. I can't think of what we called that. But we had that in typing. Carbon paper. That's it. We had that in typing class. Paper. Yeah.
Before that, it might have been, by the time you were in school, I don't know. Mimeograph was the other thing.
That's right. That was invented by Sal Mimeo. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
You would walk in the classroom and go, oh no, we're having a test today.
You used to get that paper. Everybody would put that paper up to their face and sniff.
You knew that smell. You walk into a classroom and you'd smell it, and then you look on the teacher's desk and go, crap.
Dadgummit, another quiz.
I should have studied.
Oh gosh. Anyway, if you question the vaccine or the origination of a virus, you got social media banned. You got people getting kicked out of the military. And went on and on. But this guy leads anti-Semitic protests and people are fighting to keep him here. I don't understand this Democratic
They're fighting
Party
to keep, who is this? And it's a low-level judge that said, you got to turn those planes around. And Trump just went, no, we don't.
and
they
now they're
went
saying,
where they were supposed to go. We are not bringing them back, period.
I think they are. I think I saw, I'm trying to think of the name of the guy, the White House counsel anyway, I can't think of his name, Jay Sekulow. That's who it is. He was talking about it. I don't think that these judges, that judge specifically, has the right to rescind anything.
Even an appellate judge.
Right.
This is somebody who's just barely a step above a traffic judge.
Yeah. So he doesn't have the right to do any of this stuff. And
no, none of them do, but they're puffing their chest out and trying to, it's like, no, you think judges could just go up and tell the president, no, we're not, you can't do that. Really? Since when were you president?
Again, I think it's going to go, and you brought up the auto pen a minute ago. It's like, I think that a lot of those pardons that Biden wasn't even supposedly in the White House when they were signed, on vacation or sleeping on the beach in Delaware or whatever. So, I mean, does that rescind those? Does that make it to where they're not, I mean, I don't know. I think
Trump has called them illegitimate pardon, so we'll see what happens. I don't know. I'm sure it's going to go to the Supreme Court.
I am curious. I didn't think that the president could do that kind of thing, the auto pen thing. I didn't think that.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think Joe was behind it, but somebody was behind it, and I think it's.
Somebody said, "Hey, we can just."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You got to wonder how much that went on during those 4 years, because I'm sure that wasn't an isolated case.
It was such an bummer thing to do.
To coin a phrase. After all that, we do need a palate cleanser. And this,
oh Lord, yes,
this is absolutely unbelievable. If it hadn't come from Paul Harvey, I don't know. Richard sent me this the other day, and like I said, if I had to listen to it twice, because I'm like, there's no way I heard this correctly. You feel the same way, right? I mean,
yeah, I heard it several years ago, probably. Who knows where I heard it from, but I went, wait a minute, I'm familiar with this one. And as he went on and went, that's right, I do recall this. Yeah. But it's still, even though it's like, what? Really?
Yeah, this is something that, like I said, if it didn't come from Paul Harvey, I probably wouldn't believe it. But hang on to your hats, ladies and gentlemen, because this is an unbelievable one. Here we go.
The rest of the story. Once in a rare while, there's a rest of the story that beggars even my imagination. This one does that. And when I'm finished telling you what I'm about to tell you, I want you to realize that I'd never have related this story had it not been confirmed with at least 3 independent sources. Here we go. May 12, 1863. Civil War battlefield in Virginia. Captain L.G. Capers waited to do his duty. Captain Capers was a field surgeon for the Union Army, and he realized, much to his distaste, that regardless of the battle's outcome, there'd always be work for him. Now, at the edge of the battlefield, about a mile from the nearest village, was a mansion. On its porch stood the mistress of the house and her 2 daughters, watching, waiting anxiously to see if there might be somebody they could assist, somebody wounded. By 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the battle was raging within 100 yards of the mansion. Captain Capers, the surgeon, looked up suddenly, startled by a high-pitched scream, which he had not heard in war before. Moments later, the woman from the mansion was standing out of breath at his side. It was her daughter, she gasped. One of her daughters had been shot. Well, the captain hurried back with her to the mansion. He discovered that indeed the 17-year-old girl had a jagged bullet wound in her abdomen. Capers dressed the injury as best he could and prescribed something for pain, and then he had to rush back to his regiment, calling over his shoulder that he'd be back to look in on the girl later if he could. Now it's several days after that. Captain Capers' brigade set up headquarters in a nearby village, so he was able to make good on his promise. Returning to the mansion, he was dismayed to learn that the teenager with the gunshot wound had developed peritonitis. He followed the case closely after that, returning to check on the progress of his young patient almost every day. The girl eventually recovered, and after she had recovered, months later, Captain Capers returned to relate the rest of the story. Now, he was on the battlefield when the shot that had wounded the girl was fired, and although he could not see who fired it, he could tell by the line of fire that the bullet, before reaching the young lady, had first passed through a young soldier. Captain Capers had been standing not far from this young man when it had happened, and since no bullet was ever retrieved from the fallen soldier, the girl was probably carrying it somewhere inside her, which is why something else had occurred. You see, the soldier had been wounded. Well, the bullet carried clean away one of the young man's reproductive glands, and that same bullet wounded the 17-year-old girl in the uterus, and thus medically, verifiably, was the young lady impregnated by a man she had never met. The two did meet subsequently, and almost as miraculously, they fell in love and married, and they had 2 other children by means more convenient. And further to corroborate the circumstances of the original pregnancy, soon after that first infant was virgin-born, 278 days after the battle, it developed a curious swelling that necessitated surgery, and in the process of treating that swelling, there was removed from the baby a bullet. No, in medical annals, nothing like this had ever happened before, nor surely will it ever happen again. For the young love that blossomed in the arid earth of hatred was inspired by an unknown Cupid who fired a magic bullet, the only bullet in any war that ever gave a life. Now you know the rest of the story.
Wow.
I've heard it 4 times now, and I still go, wow. It's just, and it makes you go, ow, that's not feeling good.
Apparently, he had enough manhood left in the other one.
Well,
yeah,
there was plenty of convenient potency left, I guess. Means more convenient.
I think he meant conventional, but convenient worked. Oh my gosh! It's just absolutely incredible. I still question it, even though I'm sure it's true. Oh gosh. Well, anyway, we hope you were somewhat informed and had fun like we did. Don't forget, you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, iHeart, Amazon, Rumble, or Amazon Smart Speaker. You just tell it you want to hear us. And those 2 handsome guys who do a podcast, I think that works.
And if you can't find them, we're available. And you'll find us every Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on the OracleTalkRadioNetwork.com. Enjoy us on your drive home, folks. And you can get the apps for Apple and Android, or you know what? Just go to our website and go to stayoffmylawn.us. You have to say it that way when you put it in. .us for all our past and present episodes.
As you're typing it, you got to say it like that. Yeah. We'll see you next week, folks.
Thanks so much for watching us and listening to us this week, folks. We appreciate every single one of you. Toodles. Well, we had fun and hope you did too. The opinions heard here today are not those of anyone other than Mike and Richard. If it made you laugh or go, or even, then we've done our job. Sort of. Well, mostly anyway. And if we made you think about things in a common sense manner, we welcome you to the club. And if it didn't, then just stay off my lawn. See you next time.